The last of its kind ever, I think, and I hope. Next on Locked on Jazz. Bum 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 pow.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
How are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz. Today's show will points gain. Somebody has taken over the top spot as the most efficient offensive player in all of the NBA. And who is the hottest player over the last 10 games? Is there any value at all to the moments of basketball that we watched last night? Maybe not, frankly. But let's start the show discussing the real issue that exists, where the Utah Jazz actually sit after last night, and how I think last night is the last of its kind ever in the history of the NBA. So let me start with where we sit. That will then hopefully explain a little bit of what we experienced last night. And for those of you that are with us, honestly, you're awesome. Just taking this a part of your life, being with it. I think it's great. I still have a good time every night. Like, I actually went yesterday to the pharmacist to go get some stuff because I've got this thing going on. And the pharmacist was like, is it hard to go to work? I was like, no, it's still great. Still love it every single day. And so I appreciate that you as a fan love it just as much, and you're still tuning into the show. And so on a day in which there were 16 players on injured lists and star players who were traded for aren't playing and everything else, the Jazz and the Wizards played a basketball game and the Jazz lost, which is fine. So I don't think we're ever seeing what we saw last night ever again. Adam Silver had a press conference yesterday and made it pretty clear that the league's going to change the rules. And that's great. I started this process, kind of thought it was much to do about nothing. At the end of this process, the league needs to change the rules. The problem that lies here is there's no single sport where an individual player matters more. There's just not any sport other than tennis or a single individual sport in which one individual talented player changes the entire complexion of how a franchise sits and what their future is. And so, therefore, one, having a player play or not play has a massive impact on a game, but also the ability to acquire a player, which is incredibly difficult in our league. And there might not be a league where it's more difficult to acquire a player. Makes such a difference that the incentives and teams will always figure out a way to be in a situation where the Jazz and the Wizards and the Brooklyn Nets and everybody else are, Indiana Pacers. It's a real problem. It's like 8 of them. So, but I do think, listening to Adam Silver yesterday, that we are going to have 3 changes come to the league. Last night's game was unique that it was 2 teams with protected draft picks, both top 8. There's something a little funky about Washington's, where I think there's some chances it could swap to someone earlier than that, but basically both top 8 picks. I don't think you're ever seeing that again. I think there's going to be a restriction on protections so that you can only have your picks be either lottery, playoff, or non-playoff protected. And then I don't know what you do about play-in, where you get a team that makes the play-in and intentionally loses a play-in game to protect their draft pick. That's a bad look. The league doesn't want that look. That's on national television. The WNBA has no protected picks. I don't know that the NBA can go there. It might be too restrictive. So that's the first thing. We will never have another game between 2 teams with protected picks in the top 10. I'm pretty certain of that. So that will be the last the NBA ever sees that. Last night was historical for a lot of reasons. I think you will have incentivized winning at the end of the season. I'm not sure I love this, but there's a rising feeling around the league that if people lose early in the year to secure better draft position and then are forced to win later in the year, That's better than a bunch of people trying to lose later in the year. And particularly because there are more eyeballs on the NBA right now than there is during the NFL or college football season. I think it's a little bit of a cop-out, but I think we're going to see that there is a fixed date and that there's incentivized winning after that date. And that somehow the draft order is going to be made based on the amount of wins you have. It is clear the draft order is never, ever going to be done ever again based on how many losses you have. The league is not going to do that again. That to me is abundantly clear. The third one that's interesting in this is the 65 game rule that the NBA Players Association just got upset about because of Cade Cunningham, and is the rule that if you don't play 65 games, you're not eligible for awards, plays into all of this. And the NBA is not going to waver off that because of this, because the NBA is going to set a date like February 1st, shall we say, in which draft those teams, the record of those teams after February 1st of those teams that end up in the lottery is going to be draft order based on wins. It's going to be something like that. It's a little funky and weird to figure it out, but that's going to be how it plays out. And so if you have to win after February 1st to April 15th, then you've really got to lose a lot before February 1st to make sure you're in the lottery if Victor Wembanyama or Cooper Flagg or AJ DeBonsa is available, because individual single talent will still, this will not change. The core issue that we first started with here, that is no sport is more impacted by a single individual talent than basketball, will not change no matter what Adam Silver and everybody does. So you will then be very heavily incentivized in your first 50 games of the year to lose and go 4-46. And so the 65 game rule is going to stay intact because they are going to want to make sure that players play as many games as possible leading into that final 30 games. And maybe it's they only play 35 or they play 40 of that 60, but they're going to try to force as many players to play that so that those players then close the year playing the final 30 games of the year while it's for wins and get to their 65 game rule. And that's why Adam Silver will not waver off the 65 game rule. These all play together. So what we experienced last night, which was a fun night out at the arena and people had a great time with weird basketball and 4 straight missed layups at one point. We will never see that environment with the incentives so weirdly askewed ever again. The combination of 2 teams with protected picks, the combination of a league that incentivizes losing, and a combination that still will always be true of a sport in which the individual talent matters more than any other sport. You can go add Patrick Mahomes to a team and it matters, but if you don't have everything else around it, it's not the same thing that if you go add, frankly, look at who we are right now. We add Jaren Jackson Jr. We all believe we're a top 5 playoff team, if not better next year. One player did that. But what we saw last night, I believe we never see it again. And quite frankly, thank goodness, because it's just the screwiest thing I've ever been a part of. But I'll never forget it. So we got that going for us. All right, where do we sit after all this? That next, I'm going to try to make sense out of where we sit, what's at risk, what's coming up, what do we have ahead of us next in the final 9 games of the NBA season on Locked on Jazz. Today's show is brought to you by our good friends over at Intercap Lending. Steve Carter is our own personal loan officer. Steve has been amazing to Locked On. So is Brock Worthen, both of them over at Intercap. The interest world's a little wild. Things have kind of moved around here recently. Here's the way to do things with Steve. Steve is the best customer service person around. You're looking to buy a new house. You want to refinance. You want to do a construction loan. Sit down with Steve and let him lay out a plan for you. Don't sit here and be willy-nilly wondering what's right, what's wrong. Let Steve build the plan for you. He'll take the time. You'll have you don't have to do anything. And what he'll do is sit down with you and say, okay, well, the rates just went up a little bit recently, which was total pain. And so let's see if we can move them back. When they're going to come back down at some point. If we hit this point, then this is where everything clicks in. We'll be ready to go. Like, you do not have to make the refinance today. You do not have to do the construction loan today, but Steve Carter can get you in the position to make sure that the review is there and ready, and you know exactly when to act. They also do two-time construction loans if someone already owns the land. The land can be used toward the down payment. And there's also an option to defer interest payments during construction, which helps with cash flow. That's all Steve Carter over at Intercap Lending. The best way to do it is probably just email me at dlock09@gmail.com and let me get you the Locked On Every Day or meeting with Steve Carter that you get, that you deserve, the VIP that you deserve and you get. If not, you can call Steve directly at 385-800-8528. That's 385-800-8528. NMLS number 1178666. Feel free to reach out to Steve directly or email me at dlock09@gmail.com. Today's show is brought to you by Quo. Spring into the natural reset. Hey, wait a sec. I just made a mistake. Today's show is brought to you by Quo. Spring is the natural reset point. Get your mass communications straightened out. Get your missed calls down to zero. Get your scattered texts down to zero. No clear thread of who's saying what in your company. Let's get it all solved with Quo. QUO. The smarter way to run your business. Quo, the #1 rated business phone system on G2 with over 3,000 reviews, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses. It lets your entire team share one business number, so you never miss a call or a text or an opportunity. Everything lives on one clean thread: calls, texts, voicemails, and the whole team sees the conversation. So nothing falls through the cracks, and the AI summaries have save serious time by logging calls and highlighting the next steps automatically. It makes your business feel more organized and responsive. Make this season no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free. Get 20% off your first 6 months at quo.com/LockedOnNBA. That's quo.com/LockedOnNBA. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. All right, where do the Jazz sit? Here's where we sit right now, and then let's walk through it. So right now we sit in the 5th pick position in draft position. And if you haven't been following this all year, but I'm assuming you have, what we have to make sure is we do not end up number 9. If the season ends today, the chances of us being 9th is 0.6%. Okay? 0.6%. That's pretty great. If for some reason we slide to 6th, where Dallas is, it becomes 4%, 3.9. That's truly where we sit right now. There is limited chance that we fall to Memphis and win. We'd have to win 4 more games. Memphis doesn't win another game the rest of the year. That's Memphis and Dallas not winning another game the rest of the year is totally possible. The wild card here is that Sacramento has won 5 of their last 10. And there is always a chance that Sacramento could come win 2 more and we don't win any. And then we move to 4, which would increase the impact of that would be, we guarantee that we're keeping our pick. So that would be nice. We'd have no nervousness. We would increase our chance by about 2% on number 1 or number 2 pick, a little less. And about to get in the top 4, which kind of matter, top 3 or 4, we would increase our percentage by about 5 or 6%. So that would be nice. And our most likely outcome would probably be 1 slot better. So yeah, if Sacramento wanted to come get us, that would be great. If we do finish 5th, here's where we sit for all of this. We'd have a 10.5% chance to get one of the top 4 picks. Each 10% chance to get 1, 2, 3, or 4. 10.5. We would actually have almost no chance of getting the 5th pick. Only 2.2%. We'd have a 20% chance of being the 6th pick and the 27th chance of being the 7th pick. So mostly what we're doing is trying to protect our pick. But as much as we're talking AJ DeBonson, Cameron Boozer, and Peterson, and now Acuff's hot, The chances are we should be talking about the kid out of Illinois, kid out of Arizona, or something like that, because we're really talking, the chances are we're on the 6th or 7th pick. That's most likely. Almost no chance getting the 5th pick. Just for Washington, by the way, right now is secure, and if Washington were to slide down to 5, they'd be in the same circumstance. So we have 9 games left on our schedule. Where this gets kind of, now we have like the most difficult schedule the rest of the way. And there is a chance that last night's really the last time we have to see what we saw. You have to reference, though, a little bit of like what I just talked about, which is where's Dallas, where's Memphis, where's everybody else, because that's going to dictate the various behavior. Dallas's final schedule is at Portland Friday, Minnesota Monday, at Milwaukee Tuesday. That one's a little interesting. Home against Orlando, home against the Lakers, at the Clippers, at Phoenix, at San Antonio, and they close the year against Chicago, which they could win that last game of the year. Otherwise, there's not many wins there for Dallas. As we projected a long time ago, when we started this, Dallas was 19-26. And my guess was they were going to finish the year, when we talked about that, with 23 wins. That they would win 4 of their final 38 games, 37 games. That they would finish the year 4-34. And I still think they are. If they were to win one more game, that would be nice. Because right now, the Jazz window is 1-2 games. And if you tie, then our chances are 2.4% to lose our pick. Now there's Memphis, who is 3 games back there. We'd have to win 3 more games to catch Memphis. And Memphis is also has lost, I think, 12 of their last 13. They finished with Houston, home against Chicago, because that's interesting. Phoenix, Knicks, home against Toronto, at Milwaukee, kind of interesting. Cleveland, at Denver, against us on April 10th. So we may see this whole shenanigans one more time, and then at Houston to close the season. Depends. If everyone does, then maybe that Memphis game can mellow out. In the meantime, our schedule just got such that this seems to be, maybe last night was the last of it, but I kind of doubt that until we see Dallas or some of these other teams win games. We go to Denver and Phoenix these next 2 days, come back for Cleveland and Denver, then play Houston, all incentivized to win. Houston could end up being unincentivized to win because they're going to be so set in that 6th spot if they keep losing colossal games like last night. But they are, I'm not kidding, they're 1.5 games up behind Minnesota after last night. They're actually solidifying themselves in that 6th spot in a kind of weird way. Then we play Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City's interesting. Oklahoma City's very incentivized for us to lose that game, for us to win that game, and for them to lose because they're the one who gets the draft pick. But at the same time, all of a sudden, San Antonio is now within 2 games with a very easy schedule. So if the Thunder can drop one between now and then, it would get interesting. The Thunder may be incentivized to win. Then we have the Pelicans. Then we play the Grizzlies, and we end with the Lakers. And the Lakers, by that final game of the season, it's not clear. So teams, we should be playing teams every night. They're incentivized needing to win, except for Houston could be a little sketchy. Oklahoma City will depend what San Antonio does between now and then. And the last night, and then Memphis and LA. So the last little part of this could be a little still sketchy. And as I mentioned, the wild card here is whether Sacramento wants to suddenly surprise everyone in a very Sacramento Kings way and continue to win every other one of their games and sneak into suddenly putting us into a position. And certainly we'll be watching them closely. They're at Orlando, at Atlanta. Then they play at Brooklyn. And Brooklyn seems to be as good as anyone at this. So keep an eye on this. Then they play at Toronto. Then they play the Pelicans. They play the Clippers. They're at the Warriors. Pretty limited. Play the Warriors again, which is a rivalry game at home. And then they close with Portland. There is a minor chance that Doug Christie's team could sneak in 2 more wins. And that minor chance means that we continue to be incentivized in a very strange fashion And while as much as last night will never happen again, I don't think we're totally clear of everything that we've seen. So 9 more to go. And mass excitement to watching what happens next year, and we'll see it. Is there any value to these moments? The value last night would be that Cody Williams and Ace Bailey just get stretched so far beyond their natural ability, and they have to try to see what they can do. And Cody takes 20 shots last night. And I would say he gets something out of it. He threw up 3 bad threes and moved inside and, kind of figured out where to get some shots off when he has to, and a way that if he's playing with a bunch of really good players, he doesn't have to make those shots or even try those shots in the first place. I think the Jazz have something in Blake Hinson. He's a hell of a shooter, and he has lost weight, and he's in much better physical condition, and he maybe is a totally different player than has been bouncing around, and his size, they may really have something in Blake Hinson. And so for Ace Bailey last night, I think, the wear and tear of the burden of being the man, like when he goes into conditioning this offseason, I think he learned a lesson. I don't think anyone got harmed by last night, but I wouldn't say there's just a massive takeaway either. Oh my gosh, we learned this. I'm not going there. I'm not big into BSing people. I was talking to Ian Furness, the great talk show host from Seattle, and we were just saying, at some point after you've done this for 30 some odd years, you kind of know what's really important and what's really not. And it's sometimes hard to feign outrage about stuff that's just not that crazy. And this is what it is. We're never going to see it again. So it's kind of a unique circumstance to be in, that the pendulum has just swung so far that the entire league is going to change rules because of it. It's wild. Points gained. New player on top, and the hottest player in the NBA is not that surprising, but it's different than what we've had. Next on Locked On Jazz. Today's edition of Locked On Jazz on this Thursday is brought to you by TurboTax. That's right. We are there. It is that time of year, tax time. But for a lot of us, the old way of doing taxes is a lot. Trying to book an appointment, there's not the most convenient sitting in a waiting room with a stack of papers, emailing back and forth and wondering if they really get your situation. But this year, you're getting a major upgrade. Intuit TurboTax now has in-person locations nationwide. You can meet face-to-face with a real tax expert, and your documents get uploaded straight to your TurboTax app on the spot. And it's just like that. You're done. And TurboTax Expert works to get your every dollar you deserve while you're getting real-time notifications as you go about your day. It's the relief of walking in and meeting a real person and walking out and knowing your taxes are being handled right. Head to TurboTax.com/local to find the store near you and book your appointment. That's TurboTax.com/local. You ever want to test all of your sports knowledge? Show what you have? Well, today's show is also brought to you in part by Robinhood. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood Prediction Market changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. You always have known the game, but you've never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now you can actually take part live in a market powered by the people. You're no longer just a spectator, play-by-play. You decide. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps. Trading involves significant risk, and it's not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Directives LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. All right, points gained. This is our own offensive metric. It's exclusive to Locked On. Exclusive to Locked On Jazz, really. And we look at each player in the NBA, and we look at what they first ability is the efficiency by which they use a shot, take a shot. And their second is about their how many shots they can take. So the first skill is actually getting a shot off, and the second skill is being efficient with it. The number one most efficient, let me back up for those of you that are new to this. Every year, we usually have 3 players that have a +3 or more. That means that on a given night, with the amount of scoring opportunities that they use, an average collection of average NBA players would score this. They score this amount of points more than average. And every year, we generally have 3 players over 3. That's kind of how it works. And we have 10 players over 2. By the end of the year, that's where we get. Well, guess what? We're kind of right there. The 3 players over 3 are Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at 4.1. Just give you an idea, the leader last year in the NBA was Nikola Jokic at 3.7. So Shai's having a little bit better year. The year prior to that, the number 1 player was Joel Embiid at 3.5. And the year before that was Nikola Jokic at 4.3, Durant at 4.1. Before that was Jokic at 3.9 and Durant at 3.2 and Rudy at 3.5. The year before that was Steph at 4.0. So 4.1, Jokic was at 4.3 in the 22-23 season. But we have to go back all the way to the 17-18 season, Steph at 4.7, and the 22-23 season of Jokic at 4.3 to find anybody better than Shai at 4.1 this year. So this is the 3rd best offensive season in this metric since 2017-18. So basically 10 years. That's how great Shai is right now. So Shai's a 4.1, Jokic is a 3.9, and Giannis is 3.2. Okay, that's the top 3. We're going to have usually 10 over 2. This is every year. It's crazy. Jalen Duren's 2.7. Steph Curry is 2.4. Kevin Durant's 2.4. Kawhi Leonard's 2.3. Austin Reeves is 2.3. Zion Williamson is 2.1. Jimmy Butler is 2.1. Jared Allen is 2.0. And Con Knippel is 2.0. We have 12, if you count Jimmy Butler, even though he probably doesn't qualify. Those are the 12 most efficient offensive players this year. Anthony Edwards is at 1.2, Chet Holmgren 1.8, Ryan Kalkbrenner 1.8, Luka Doncic 1.8, right there. The next group. Victor Wembanyama 1.6. The least efficient offensive players. And realize that these guys, and this is some of this interesting, if you're a -3, you're basically your negative value is the exact same as Shai Gilgeous, Nikola Jokic, and Giannis. This is where the negative player in this league is far worse than anyone realizes. Now, it's only about 4 guys that actually play ever that are negative. But here's the interesting. Jason Tatum's -2.8. Like, as great as it is that Jason Tatum's back and everyone's excited and he's blowing everyone away and his Achilles is incredible, keep an eye on this. Jalen Green is -2.6 in Phoenix. Keegan Murray was -2.3 in Sacramento. John Morant was -2.2 in Memphis. Guys who actually play, Derek White's -1.7. Vince Williams on our team for the injury -1.6. Jeremiah Fears, rookie, -1.6. Guys that play, Rob Dillingham -1.6 now in Chicago. Herb Jones -1.5 in New Orleans. Nikola Jovic, 1.5 in Miami. Russell Westbrook, -1.5 still. Trey Mann, Charlotte, -1.5. DeAnthony Melton, Golden State, 1.4. Tari Eason, -1.4. That's why they need to play Reed Shepherd. LaMelo Ball, interesting, is -1.4 despite Charlotte's success. VJ Edgecombe, rookie, -1.4, so not surprising. And that's probably the guys that are worth mentioning there. One other note for you on the rookies this year. So we just did VJ Edgecombe. The Cooper Flag, Con Knippel, actual efficiency, Ace Bailey, -0.9 is pretty good. Rookies are usually terrible. And to have Con Knippel in the top 12 is mind-blowing. And Cooper Flag's actually been okay also. Cooper Flag this year in the opening is at, trying to find it. I just searched Dallas and San Antonio. And San Antonio's had so many players, it's hard to find. Cooper Flag's at -1.2. Ace Bailey's at -0.9. So Ace Bailey's actually been more efficient and a more positive impacted player than Cooper Flagg's been this year. And Dylan Harper Jr. did not immediately show up for me. San Antonio Spurs played too many players. Harper is a minus 0.4. Okay. Championship team, you want every single one of your players to be positive and nobody to be negative. Just notice this on San Antonio. Here are the negatives. Carter Bryant won't play in the playoffs. Stephen Castle's now at minus 0.4. Harper's at minus 0.4. Devin Vassell's at even. They literally have 2 players in their rotation that are negative. This is why, and then you have Victor who's at 1.6. This is why, and they're good defensively. This is why they're so good. Oklahoma City has Shea at 4.1, and the only players, Lou Dort's a minus 1.2, and Cason Wallace is a minus 0.9. Otherwise, none of their other rotation players are negative. Makes them awfully tough. For the year for Utah, not a lot has changed as we have played a mysterious group of players, but Walker was great. Blake Kinson's at 1.3. Interesting. Lauri's at 1.2. Keyonte was 1.1, which was terrific. Svi's at 0.6, keeper. Bryce Sensabaugh's even at 0.1, which is great. Kyle's even. John Conchar's even. Jaren Jackson was minus 0.2. Isaiah's minus 0.3. That's important. Cody's minus 0.6. Nurk is minus 0.6. We've talked about the least efficient offense center. Ace is minus 0.9. Jazz could very quickly build a team next year of players that are all positive. Gets interesting. Hottest player in the NBA. Gilgeous-Alexander Walker. In the last 10 games, Gilgeous-Alexander Walker is the hottest player in the NBA right now. Isn't that awesome? Kawhi Leonard is 2. Jalen Duren is 3. Daniel Gafford is 4. Karl Anthony Towns is 5. Shea is 6. Zion Williamson 7. Durant 8. Anthony Edwards 9. Played at least 6 games. Josh Minot 9. RJ Barrett in Toronto 10. Nikola Jokic 11. Cade Cunningham. Colin Sexton. Cameron Johnson. Amen Thompson. Coldest players in the NBA right now, having played at least 6 games. Omer Yurtseven's really already played 6 games? Feels like a weird search. Feels like something's off on my search here. All right, we're going to leave out Omer Yurtseven. Coldest players in the NBA, this is going to be interesting. Tari Eason, Lou Dort, Cooper Flagg. Jason Tatum. So Cooper Flagg's gone the opposite direction as late in the year as Ace Bailey's had a larger burden, obviously. Alex Sarr, Walter Clayton, Trey Johnson, Jalen Brunson, Russell Westbrook, Jamal Shedd, Peyton Pritchard, Mo Wagner, VJ Edgecombe wearing out as well. Jose Alvarado, Noah Clowney, Dante DiVincenzo, all are -2 or worse. So worth taking note of. That is Locked On Jazz today. Thanks so much for tuning in. I don't know I'm getting you a show tomorrow. I got a bunch of stuff early in the morning. I think there's a chance I miss you tomorrow. I'll try to see if I can get a bonus episode out on Saturday or an Ask LOJ Extra or something of that sort for you. Thanks very much for tuning in. If you want to join the Everydayer program, lockedonjazz.supercast.com. That's lockedonjazz.supercast.com. Love to have you aboard and join our program. Right now, we send you the first ever national NBA channel on YouTube, Locked On NBA on audio. Check out Game Night, every game, every night. Also, the Big 3 in 30 on Locked On NBA.